So I always got reasonably good feedback on my development and mentoring and coaching work with a small c when I was with PwC. And I was invited to join a program within the firm called Partner Coaching Partners, which was coaching partners who were having challenges or wobbles, and also coaching directors and progressing them through to partner. And that made me think, I always got good feedback on that and seemed to be reasonably good at it and having satisfied customers, as it were. However, I thought I was a gifted amateur, so I decided to put myself through a coaching program, did some homework, and the one that seemed to be very well recognized was a coaching course at Henley Business School. So that's what I did. I signed up for that, and that took about, not continuously, but it lasted for about 9 months, going through various workshops and in between processes. It's not a sales pitch, but highly commend the Henley program. It's very good.
So how did you go about getting your clients?
That was an interesting one, because my clients in PwC have always been large corporates or medium to large corporates. So then when you're thinking about working with individuals, it was a bit of a challenge for me, but I just looked at my network. So initially, even prior to leaving PwC, I decided to start looking at doing some individual coaching. I started doing it on a pro bono basis. It was too complex to even think about charging for it. And so I did, one of my clients, for example, was the chief executive of a social enterprise, and she was new in role. And one of the trustees who knew me asked me if I would get involved, and I said, yeah, delighted to. And that worked really well. And that was sort of a try before you buy type of arrangement, and just seeing that it worked for me in the real world, as it were. So I did some pro bono work. Once I did retire, a bit of context, I was never aiming to be massively busy doing coaching. It was just something I wanted to do in amongst other things. I wanted a mixed bag of things I was doing after my professional career, which coaching was a part. So it was through my network, and when you say network, people think of different things. People might naturally think these days of LinkedIn. Actually, yes, I changed my profile on LinkedIn, but I've not really worked LinkedIn. But for me, the network came in other ways. So one of my other roles is I'm chairman of a recruitment firm, and funnily enough, they're constantly dealing with people who are hitting particular barriers in their careers. So you'll get a finance director, for example, who's looking for their next move, or suddenly getting disenchanted with their role. It can be a range of things, and it's a two-way street. So the recruitment firm feels that they've got something more comprehensive to offer, and it's potentially interesting work for me. And that's just a natural network connection. I've also done a lot of work in schools, and I found that's a network that sort of worked itself. So I coached one or two head teachers, both in state schools and in public schools. So yeah, it's the network has worked. I've not done a lot of advertising. I don't particularly want to. I don't have a website. I think in my case that makes me distinctive. There are plenty of coaches out there with websites. I've done a couple of speaking engagements for one of the coaching associations. That's a luxury, I guess, I've been able to do. And I'm also an associate of a leadership group who are long established and very good. And I'm on their books, and that was always seen as a two-way thing. It has generated some work for me, not a lot, but it helps credentialize me as well.
And any tips then for somebody else thinking about going into coaching?
Into coaching, there are I think unless you're particularly exceptional, it's not the route to making your millions. There's a supply and demand issue for coaching. There's a lot. Anyone could call themselves a coach, qualified or not. So it's potentially a challenging marketplace. But if you do like it and you do enjoy it, I would encourage people to go for it. I think in some respects, to be successful at a coach, you need to be distinctive to help separate yourself from the many people out there. So try and set yourself up with a specialism. A couple of examples I can think of. I know one coach who specializes in communication skills. So as people become more senior, they're having to do, more business briefings, whatever, and she just focuses on communication. She's an ex-broadcaster herself, so you could see why that link came about. I know another lady who specializes in working parents, and just coaches people who have become parents and then want to, it's deliberately working parents, not just working mums, but actively looking at how to coach people in their new world once children come along. So you can see how you can develop a specialism in coaching, and that will help helps your targeting. It helps if you're going to do marketing. It helps where you're directing your marketing at, and helps you become distinctive in the marketplace.
And for people who are thinking of what they do next in retiring, I mean, I guess, what sort of personalities do that, and who's most likely to be a success in this? I
think there are three things to consider when you're coming to the end of your professional career and looking to what you want to do beyond that. For me, there are three distinct areas. One is considering what you're good at. The second is what you enjoy, and then the third is where there's a need or a market for that service. And where the sweet spot is where those three things overlap. So if you've identified a need, you can deliver that and you're reasonably good at it and you enjoy doing it, then bingo. If you're doing, if you're good at something and enjoy doing it, but there isn't a market, then you'll be a hobbyist. If you're doing something and there's a market for it, but you don't enjoy it, then you'd probably be quite dissatisfied and quite quickly. The really difficult thing, I think, in those three things is it's not usually too difficult to find a market or a need for something. The difficulty, I think, is probably finding what you're good at, because if you're in your late 50s or early 60s and looking for a change of direction and thinking, what am I good at? Actually, I might never have got to coaching given what I did as my profession. But I think you need to stand back from that and not rush at that and think, actually, what is it that I'm good at? Is it helping people become leaders? Is it giving advice? And it could be one of 1,000 things. I think that's the hard thing to disseminate, because if you list all the things that you're genuinely good at and have an honest view of that, you'll probably find it's quite a long list.
So anybody that you think is particularly suited to coaching?
I think you need, it's probably easier to answer that in the negative. I can think if it's easier way to explain who's probably not suited to coaching. And I've got some very close friends who say to me, I couldn't do that, because they've tended to be head teachers, for example, tend to be quite dictatorial. It's in their DNA. They've spent their entire career telling children and probably quite a few adults what to do and when to do it. So coaching and having a natural facilitative nature is not easy. It's not easy for former partners of big firms either, because they've also been quite directional in their career. So it's a bit of change, but it's also true of non-execs. When executive directors want to become non-executive directors, suddenly they have to be asking the right questions rather than digging and delving and making decisions themselves. They're trying to encourage others suddenly to make the right decisions. So that's a form of coaching, I guess. but what personalities are right? It's, you know, I think the better ones are the ones who have got exceptional listening skills, who have some genuine care about people and where they want to go, can phrase things in the right way. I think I'm not afraid to get some training. You know, I got some training in my mid-50s. A lot of people that age think, well, actually, I know it all. So what is there to learn? Actually, I learned an awful lot in my course, and you've got to learn a lot about yourself before you can start coaching others, of how you react and how you deal with things in life. So yeah, it's you know, I could write a book on that, I guess. It's difficult to give that in a short answer, but hopefully that gives you some idea.
I should look out for the book. And it sounds like you're enjoying it, Bill. Yes?
Yes, I do enjoy it. It's you know, I'm meeting people, I'm meeting new people. One of the things that struck me quite early on with coaching is actually I can have a workload which I can control. You know, I can almost say no, or I can refer people to other coaches than I know. So I can. It's a workload I can't control, which is nice. It's intellectually stimulating, and ultimately you're helping other people, and I think that's without something too saintly about it. You know, it is a nice thing to be able to help other people, whether it's, you know, with their career journey or whatever the challenge would be. I should say as well that, you know, coaching is it's not about me coaching anyone who comes to me with any problem or issue. You know, there's lots of things that people would come to me and I would say that I'm not your person. You know, there are some things I'm happy to help coaching in, but there are many things that I won't, and I'd much rather refer them to someone who'd be the right choice for their particular needs.